let's do this. So the whole point of this is I used to be an iOS software engineer, and I moved into management. And I went from spending 100% of my professional time coding to spending like 0% of my professional time coding. And I really missed it. And so I decided I wanted to get back into software engineering, specifically iOS app development again, because I really miss it. And so I figured in order to learn, I guess relearn, get better at my craft, um, I would need to do a lot of development, try new things. It's been a number of years since I've actually dove deep into Swift, into everything that's changed, new frameworks, uh, new ways of building. And so a method that I've used in the past to do that is to look at apps that are really well done, apps that have interesting um, user experiences or interesting interactions, interesting parts, and then try to rebuild those myself and see, what I can learn along that process. And so I figured if I'm going to get back into development, at least as on the side, because I'm still fully employed as a manager, I think it would be cool to share that and um, record it, put it up on the internet for other people that might be interested. Uh, for myself to look back and kind of give myself a level of accountability so that I stick with it. Uh, and I figured why not try to live stream it too? It's new, it's interesting for me. So uh, that's kind of the whole purpose. And so my my first project that I wanted to do was to try to rebuild the iOS weather app. And so I figured I would start with taking a look at the app, breaking it down into its sort of interesting components, and a start to design at least the UI and the UX at its simplest forms. Break it up into smaller chunks, and then slowly build that out, starting with um, very very simple, lightweight examples of each one of those components, and then build on top of those, make it closer and closer and closer to um, the final app that we want to do. And so one thing that we can do, let me see how I can share my screen here. There we go. So this is the app that we're going to rebuild. Um, the new weather app in iOS 16, it looks and feels really good. Um, some of the interesting UI interactions that are here that I would love to explore and see how we can replicate is one, this sort of scrolling, this header that sort of fades and hides underneath and kind of changes its overall treatment as it reaches that threshold above. Same with these sections, as you can see, it goes from sunny conditions up to hourly forecast. Uh, that interaction is going to be really interesting. These charts representing the high and low temperatures, that's going to be really interesting too. Air quality, this little map interaction, that's going to be cool. And then all of these visuals, these are all elements that I've never created before, like the radial wind, whatever you want to call that, compass dial, the sun phase chart, the air pressure, that radial gauge, all that stuff is going to be really interesting to build out. And so, uh, looking at this, I already see a couple of ways that I can start to break this down. I see that we've got at least a scrolling element with a bunch of sections. Kind of clues me in that we're going to need some sort of scroll view. Um, we've got section content that we can break that down into individual views. This can be a view. This can be a kind of high-level view. Each one of these we can break down into its own view with its own model and kind of build it up from there. And then of course we've got sort of a top-level view up here. And so that's what we're going to build. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll probably add these bottom elements later. Right now I want to focus at least on getting the primary view portion done, starting with the simple pieces, the sort of, it's like a weather overview, summary. Um, this hourly forecast, the 10-day forecast, we'll start from there and then we'll move on. I'm not going to be hooking this up to any sort of backend data just yet. I really want to focus on the UI interaction first. Start there. We can implement some remote fetching of the actual data later, but that's not really where I want to spend my time at first. I really want to focus on the UI at first. This background, the moving background with the sun, the lens flare, the clouds, having all that animate, that's going to be really fun and interesting to build on top of, as well as a lot of these sort of more subtle details around, like we've got this sort of like frosted glass effect on the background of these views. It provides a nice level of contrast on top of the background. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up for now. The first thing we're going to need to do is pull it back to code. So let's go ahead and put this up. I'm going to create a new project. Let's call this, start with an app. Call it clone weather. Do SwiftUI with Swift. We'll include tests. I really want to play around with the test framework and find a way to make all the elements of this definitely testable. I'm going to skip core data for now. In a separate project, I'd like to dive deeper into core data, but I don't really want to do that for this one. Let's go next. Sure. Let's create a new folder here. Clone weather. Let's do it. Set up my window here. I like to have my main code window over here on the left, simulator here on the right. Now with SwiftUI live preview, it's going to be really interesting to see how far I can get by using the live preview of SwiftUI over constantly rebuilding and rerunning the app in the simulator. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to play around with that wasn't available to me when I was programming full time. So that'll be cool. Cool. So let me actually first, what I want to do is I'm going to capture the screenshot and send it to myself so that we can use it as a reference. There. Sweet. So I'll keep that there so that we can look at it. We've got a content view here. I'm going to go ahead and rename this. I want to call this, let's call it weather view for now. change that. Weather view previews, weather view, and weather view. I've done a little bit of SwiftUI, and so I'm familiar with it. I wouldn't say I'm super comfortable with it, and so there's going to be a lot of digging into the documentation um, and trying things, failing, retrying things, hopefully succeeding at one point. But that's sort of the whole point of this exercise, right? And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this streaming uh, and uploading this content to YouTube so that other people can learn from the same sorts of mistakes that I make. And the process itself, I think, would be really interesting for people that are either just starting out or maybe getting back into development, like myself. Um, so we'll see. Okay, so we've got our weather view here. It's got a view stack, an image, and text. I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And I really want to focus on, let's get our background. I'm going to make it just blue for now, I think. I want to work on the summary first and put it up in its own view at the top. So let's start with our VStack here. Let's make the background blue. Can I make it blue? Oh shit. I guess there's no content in there just yet. Let's add another view here. We'll call this summary view. It's gonna be some view. And let's make it a VStack. And put that right there for now. In this VStack, so sort of, I'm thinking like this is going to be a view, and we're going to have, we'll call it 4. Let's start with 4 text elements stacked on top of each other. So we'll do text. Let's call this Almost Park for now. Again, I'm going to be stepping out a lot of data at first, and we can hook it up to a backend data source later. Let's give it a sign there. What's that called? Degree sign. Mostly sunny. High 72 degrees. Low of 52 degrees. So it looks like we've got the right content. I'm going to go ahead and let's make it so that, I'm going to get rid of that for now. I actually want this whole view to be blue. This doesn't scroll yet, so let's wrap this in a scroll view. That. Now we've got it scrolling, got the content lined up at the top, which is nice. I'm going to get rid of this padding for now. And on the scroll view, I think I can make the background of this just blue. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine for now. I really want it to pin the edges. I want the edges as wide as possible. I wonder how I can do that. Let me look it up. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say pin edges of scroll view, say full width scroll view SwiftUI. I guess what I could do is add spacing on either side. I know that's one way to do it. Um, let's say scroll view SwiftUI. Let's just look at the documentation for now. I'm going to say, see, is there anything interesting here? No. We'll worry about that in a little bit. It's not critical at the moment. So let's get summary view. I like to do this at first. I like to start by putting the smaller, I guess, individual view components here in the, here is just computed properties, and then eventually moving those out into their own sort of view structs. But for now, in terms of just getting things generally mocked up and laid out, quick and dirty, that's one approach that I've liked to take as I've started to learn SwiftUI, and so I'm gonna keep doing that for now. Let's go. The next one is this hourly forecast. So let's do hourly forecast view. It looks like it's got sort of a vertical stack, one with like a general condition summary up at the top, and then underneath it, it's got the actual forecast, which, if I remember correctly, here, let me pull this over here. This actually scrolls, so we're gonna need another scroll view. We'll make this in a horizontal scroll view with those components in it. So hourly forecast, we've got another VStack. In that VStack, we've got, let's do text, and we'll say sunny conditions will continue for the rest of the day. Wind gusts are up to 18 miles per hour. And, oh yeah, if I add my hourly forecast view here. So that's good. We're going to need to change the spacing on all this. There is also some padding here, so let's go ahead and add that. That's pretty simple to do. Let's do padding. Let's start 10 points of padding. And I want to kind of see where this is. And I want to make it slightly darker. So let's make the background of this, make it sort of dark blue. Let's make it purple for now, just to see. So you can see that the view has some padding in it now, which is nice. This will at least be able to let us see kind of the difference in these elements. We also have our horizontal scroll view that contains the actual hourly forecast. So let's do another scroll view. This one is going to be, we can add a direction. scroll view. Let's open up the docs. Yes. We can just give it horizontal. And to fill it up for right now, let's do 24 hours. So we'll say for each um, 1 up through 24. I think I can say how do you self. We won't use the parameter for now, right? I get that wrong. I guess I don't need. I always forget if I need that or not. Close range int. Is that bad? Can I get rid of for now? Doesn't like that either. You happy yet? Okay, cool, it's happy. Now let's do, for each one of these elements, we've got another stack. So I'm going to vstack. See, this is going to be a good candidate to get out of this property sooner than later, just because this is a more complicated view. It's going to be nice to get that separated so it's not cluttering up our weather view code. In there we've got text. Say now. That's interesting that now appears twice there. Huh. I wonder why that is. Does it still say that? No, it doesn't. That's weird. I wonder why it did that. Now we'll do more text. Since I don't have like a glyph asset for that yet, I'm gonna use emojis. Just stop that, and then we can find some assets later. That'll be fun to explore. We'll say 68 degrees here. Cool. I don't like how that's stacking. This should be vstack. Let's inspect these. Label, label, label. This stack. Which one of these stacks is on top of each other? But I want these to be right and left. I guess I need a H stack. Yeah. So I need to roll these in an H stack. There we go. Looks better. So we've got this. Let me turn the live interaction back on. And we can see, yeah, generally we've got our condition up at the top. We've got our 24 snapshot forecasts. And let's do the 10-day. And we'll stop at the sort of the simple component. Well, stop creating more components after the 10-day. This right here. And then we'll start to polish these up. and kind of improve them from there. The other components below it are more complicated, and so I'd like to get at least these three components as close to matching this design as possible before moving on. Okay, cool. So we've got our forecast view. Let's add another one for 10 days. So we'll call this daily forecast view. That is it's another stack. It's got this section header here. This is sort of a section header as well. Interesting. I wonder if there's a way that we can generalize that component later. So let's do this vstack, do some simple text. Do I get sort of a calendar? Calendar, yeah, cool. Again, don't have glyphs, so I'm gonna use emojis. 10-day forecast. I'm going to make that uppercase and put daily forecast view there. Let's do now. Let's make it 10. The 10-day forecast. We'll do 10 elements stacked. Do 4 for each. 0 through 9. In. And then now we've got a horizontal stack of elements. Label, glyph, label, some sort of bar, chart element, then another label. So let's go ahead and do that. An H stack. We'll say, I don't want to say today because it's going to say today all over the place. Yeah, whatever. Today, glyph, low, high. Let's do this. Oh, we'll do one for the spacer. So here, sunny. We'll say 52 degrees. Some sort of bar element. For now, we'll just do that. And let's say 72 degrees. I also don't know how long this is going to go. I'll go as long as I can. If I cut off early, then stop. I'll do another one. Sort of do a quick recap. So that's a decent forecast. I'm going to make the background of this just for right now. Background. Let's call it red. It's gonna look it's gonna look hideous. And let's give it the same padding. Padding at 10. There's also a liner. I think there's a divider element. Right? In fact, my family's home. So I am actually gonna have to call it here. I think, yep, there's a divider element that matches that. I think this is a good start. I'm gonna go ahead and call it here and pick it back up later.